Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we are breaking down a seriously urgent investigation into an unseen hand that's been manipulating world events right under our noses. We've gotten hold of some chilling documentation exposing a centuries-old, clandestine network literally pulling the strings of human history. And we aren't just talking about shadowy figures in smoke-filled rooms here. No, this is a terrifying, massive paper trail leading straight to an organization operating in plain sight. So it begs the ultimate question, right? Who actually controls the world's most powerful institutions? Today, you and I are stepping right into the shoes of the lead investigators who tried to answer just that. The evidence we're unpacking outlines a global conspiracy with stakes so staggering it's hard to wrap your head around at first. We're unraveling a web that touches governments, the media, and honestly, the very fabric of our reality. Just to set the tone for exactly what we're dealing with, you have to hear this warning from Elena. She's a former intelligence operative who actually managed to infiltrate this cabal's ranks. She said, "They seek to restore an ancient power to reshape the world in their image, a new world order built upon their twisted vision of dominance." Pretty chilling, right? This introduces us to a shadowy entity known as the Obsidian Circle. And let me be clear, this is not just some run-of-the-mill political cabal. This is an organization wielding influence that borders on the supernatural.
Section 1. Following the paper trail. Okay, let's dive right into this.
Our investigation centers on Christo and Brandusa, just an ordinary academic couple living in Bucharest. But the first breadcrumbs they found, they weren't in some secret volcanic lair. Actually, they turned up in Christo's mundane, soul-crushing employment agency. Picture it. Amidst the hum of flickering fluorescent lights and the smell of stale coffee, Christo notices a shift. Weird encrypted emails, hushed conversations, and then finally an anonymous ancient wooden box literally just arrives at his door. That was the spark. That box triggered a deep dive into an insanely intricate web of hidden funding and global shell corporations. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how they did it. If you map this out like a journalist's corkboard, the shell company trail is brilliantly deceptive. The cabal operated right out in the open, using legitimate-sounding front groups to totally mask their sinister goals. Take the Global Unity Initiative. On the outside, championing environmental sustainability, classic corporate greenwashing. But internally, restricting liberties and centralizing control. These philanthropic foundations and completely legitimate-looking businesses were actively funneling millions in dark money into a master plan they called Project Chimera.
Section 2. The Mark of the Serpent.
Now, the tension here really ratcheted up when Christo and Brandusa identified a recurring visual clue tying all this financial corruption together: the Obsidian serpent. And no, this wasn't just some decorative corporate logo. They realized with growing horror that this ancient occult motif acted as a signature, a map, and honestly a literal conduit for the network's power. It was the absolute key to unlocking how this clandestine force was shaping human destiny. Now, you might actually recognize variations of this symbol today. The investigators traced its ancient appearances hidden deep in medieval architecture, pagan iconography, and esoteric alchemical texts. But the truly terrifying part? The documentation actually proves this exact serpent motif is subtly embedded in the corporate branding of today's most powerful multinational corporations. Think about that. This global conspiracy is hiding its signature right in front of us, on billboards, on storefronts, literally on the app icons sitting on our phones right now. When you look at the timeline, it demonstrates the staggering, almost incomprehensible scale of the Obsidian Circle's manipulation. The evidence they uncovered suggests the Black Death in the 14th century wasn't entirely natural. It was a targeted culling designed to reshape European politics. They subtly steered the major societal shifts of the Renaissance. And fast forward to the 20th century, they explicitly guided human innovation toward destructive ends, specifically accelerating the development of nuclear weapons. This whole chilling realization is perfectly summarized by a haunting quote from an ancient leather-bound grimoire that Christo managed to decode. It reads, "The entity prefers manipulation, subtly weaving its influence into the fabric of civilizations, guiding them towards predetermined outcomes." The Obsidian Circle, guys, wasn't just a group of corrupt, greedy politicians. They acted as agents for an ancient entity that viewed all of humanity as just mere test subjects on a massive global chessboard. Section 3. The Mechanisms of Control. So how exactly did this cabal manage to shape reality itself? Let's move to and see how this builds, because the investigation uncovered a terrifying occult principle known as etheric weaving. Step 1. Establish resonant points across the globe where the dimensions between worlds thin out. Step 2. Utilize ancient artifacts, like a pulsing obsidian disk Christo actually discovered, to focus that energy. And step 3. This is the wild part. Literally weaponize human anxiety. They were harvesting psychic energy from mass societal fear. And this wasn't just some theoretical occultism in an old book. It had physical locations acting as Project Chimera's global strongholds. Up in the Swiss Alps, they were developing mind control technology. Deep down in the Amazon rainforest, bioengineering and genetic manipulation labs were creating organisms meant to destabilize ecosystems. And out in the South China Sea, they hid magnetic field weaponry totally capable of catastrophic climate disruption. Finding this out paved the way for Christo and Brandusa's incredibly dangerous descent into a fortified Swiss bunker they simply called the Heart of Darkness. All of these global strongholds, all of this psychic harvesting, it all served one singular, terrifying objective: the absolute, complete restructuring of society into a new world order under centralized dominion. The apocalyptic stakes our investigators were up against here, they really cannot be overstated. It was literally a fight for the survival of human free will.
Section 4. Dismantling the Cabal.
But humanity wasn't going down without a fight. Christo, Brandusa, and a brilliant data scientist ally named Anya Sharma executed a desperate counteroffensive. So the crucial point is how they used the Cabal's own data against them. They identified resonant network anomalies hidden in global data traffic. Then, they leaked documented proof of the deep corruption straight to the public and effectively severed the entity's connection to mass fear simply by changing the global narrative. Finally, they forged new alliances across the global south to build a united front against the influence.
The public exposure of the Obsidian Circle completely shattered Project Chimera, and it led to the collapse of old power structures that had gripped the world for centuries. Christo and Brandusa's journey ends with a really arduous but hopeful process of rebuilding institutions based on actual transparency and truth. But make no mistake here, the entity's shadow never truly vanishes. Eternal vigilance is forever required. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final, lingering thought derived from Christo and Brandusa's terrifying investigation. The next time you walk past a towering corporate headquarters or you see a familiar multinational logo, ask yourself, are you just looking at a brand, or are you looking at the mark of the Obsidian Serpent? Keep your eyes open, stay curious, and as always, thank you for exploring this with us.